Chapter 319. Everyone, be careful. Once they got out of the water, Xiaoheng and Long Yu took out their own weapons. What surprised Yi Chen was that both of their weapons were mid-rank great weapons. Xiaoheng had a blade, while Long Yu had a half-moon saw. Although they had suppressed the aura of the mid-rank great weapons, that light pressure was still frightening. The fireman's pupils shrank. With the increase of cultivation, the importance of the great weapons had increased as well. The low-rank great weapons could only increase the attacking power of warriors below the astral reaching realm by 10 to 20%. In the hands of astral reaching realm warriors, it would be great if they did not break. However, the mid-rank great weapons were different. They could increase the attacking power of astral reaching realm warriors by more than 30%, and 40% would be the top mid-rank great weapons. Both of them were mid-astral reaching realm warriors themselves. With the mid-rank great weapons, they would be able to compete with peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warriors. In other words, Xiaoheng and Long Yu's attacking power would not be weaker than anyone among the 8 of them. Mid-rank great weapons. These things are hard to come by. Yi Chen had been to the trading palace in the martial city before, so he naturally knew how precious the mid-rank great weapons were. If he was lucky, he might be able to see 1 or 2 within a month. If he was unlucky, he might not even see one in a year and a half. Every time one appeared, it would be bought by someone immediately, and no one would complain about the high price. The price of a mid-rank great weapon would be at least 50 times more than a low-rank great weapon. Normal astral reaching realm warriors would not be able to afford it, unless they were powerful astral reaching realm warriors from rank 6 martial institutions. However, increasing the attacking power by 30 to 40% might not necessarily increase the battling power by 30 to 40%. The battling power is affected by many factors, so it should not be the same. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen took out the Star Scar sword from his storage ring and wore it on his left waist. He had bought this sword from the trading palace in the martial city, and it was definitely one of the top low-rank great weapons. It could increase the attacking power of a clasping Yuan realm warrior by 20%. Although once he reached the astral reaching realm, the Star Scar sword would not have that effect anymore, but Yi Chen had a lot of tricks up his sleeves, so he was not lacking in attacking power. Let's go. The fireman looked away, glanced at Yi Chen and said in a low voice. Hee, this time, the corpse man is dead for sure. The mountain man sneered. The last 3 words, dead for sure, were spoken in a very low voice. Yi Chen's gaze was indifferent, his eyelids slightly drooping. Patter, patter. Light footsteps sounded one after another in the dark environment. Spreading out his soul power with his body as the center, Yi Chen realized that this strange underground world was not small at all. With his current soul power, he could only explore a very small part of it. Even after gathering his soul power into a straight line, he still could not find the edge of the underground world. This underground world was not very humid. On the contrary, it was somewhat dry. If an ordinary person stayed here for a period of time, they would easily suffer from dehydration and other symptoms. So many forks. Pang Ya raised his eyebrows. Mr. Lake waved his fan and said with a smile, "There's no rush. Let me check with my secret skill." Oh! Mr. Lake has such a powerful secret skill. Everyone was a bit surprised. Normally, astral reaching realm warriors would use the same method to check their surroundings, which was to spread out their powerful soul power. They had already checked before, and found nothing. The lake man smiled slightly as a watery light spread out from his body. It was extremely thin, and seemed to have connected with the water yuan qi in the air. He did not say a word, as if he was trying to sense something. The water yuan qi in all directions is vibrating slightly. It is transmitting. Yi Chen had mastered a soul power that was even more powerful than his soul power, so he could easily tell what was happening. After a while, the light on the lake man's body disappeared. He pointed towards the east and said, "There is a sound in that direction, 5 miles away. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go." Under the lead of the lake man, everyone's bodies turned into shadows, disappearing into the forks. There were too many forks in the road. If they followed the forks, they would not know where they would end up. Therefore, they had no choice but to choose between 2 points, where a straight line was the shortest. They used their power to destroy the forks, creating a straight path. It is here. The lake man pushed up his protective Jin Yuan and cut open the mud wall in front of him with his fan. Save me! Save me! The scene in front of them had changed everyone's expression a bit. In the pool filled with pitch-black liquid, a man whose face could not be seen clearly was soaking in it. His shoulder blades were hooked by 2 wrist-thick iron chains, while his hands and feet were fixed in the pool, unable to move at all. A clasping Yuan realm warrior. Lin Shuihan said slowly. Xiao Heng said, if I have guessed it right, the corpse man wants to turn him into a rank 6 zombie warrior, turning him into a mindless killing machine. Let's save him first. Just as Long Yu finished talking, the iron chains made a couple of clinking noises. Without exception, they were all cut in half. She turned around and saw Yi Chen put his sword back into its scabbard. Move! Activating her water-type Jin Yuan, Long Yu waved her hand. The pitch-black liquid in the pool started to spin intensely, eventually turning into a wriggling water column that shot out into the distance. Whoa! The iron chains were broken, and the pool was empty. However, Long Yu had puked out as well. In the pool, the naked man did not have a single intact body part. His stomach had been cut open, his thigh muscles had been cut open, his calf muscles had been cut open. The flesh and the pitch-black liquid had already mixed together to a certain extent, giving off a faint metallic luster. So cruel. This corpse man has done all kinds of evil things. Xiao Heng frowned. Lin Shuihan said, the corpse man is not a human being. He is a zombie warrior who has not lost his mind. Therefore, it is understandable that he would be so cruel. Yi Chen nodded. Back in the Heaven Dream Ancient region, Yi Chen had heard from Lin Yu that there were 2 ways to create a zombie warrior. The first way was under special circumstances. After a warrior's death, his Jin Qi would not dissipate and would mix with the corpse Qi. After a long time, the body would become immortal. However, if a living person came to this place, the rich Qi and blood would cause a mutation in the warrior's body, turning it into a zombie warrior who only knew how to kill and eat blood. The second way was to create a zombie warrior. One of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 evil cult, the corpse man, was a zombie warrior. However, he was different from normal zombies. Because of some special reasons, he had regained his intelligence, which made him even more cunning than human beings. What was even more horrifying was that he, who used to be a zombie warrior, could turn living warriors into zombies. According to him, they were called elite zombies. From high to low, they were iron shell zombie, bronze shell zombie, silver shell zombie, gold shell zombie and so on. According to the corpse man's own power, the iron shell zombie would be a rank 4 zombie warrior, the bronze shell zombie would be a rank 5 zombie warrior, the silver shell zombie would be a rank 6 zombie warrior, and the gold shell zombie would be a rank 7 zombie warrior. If it were not for them, the man in front of them would have been turned into a silver shell zombie. He is beyond saving. Let's send him on his way. Yi Chen scanned the man in the pool with his soul power, then shook his head. The man's body had already been corroded, and only his mind was left to support his mind. Even if there were great medicines, there would be no way to save him. Instead of living, it would be better to let him leave safely. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen took out his Star Scar sword seriously and threw out a sword attack. Pooh! The man's head was thrown into the air, but there was no blood. Sneering inside, the fireman glanced at Yi Chen in an extremely subtle way. He was thinking about what it would be like if he could turn Yi Chen into a zombie warrior. It would be so fun. At the same time, the mountain man and the lake man had their own thoughts. Lake man, please perform your secret skill again and find out where the corpse man is. Right then, Lin Shuihan said. All right. The lake man was about to perform his secret skill when he suddenly frowned. We are surrounded. Surrounded. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Howl. Howl! Howl! In the dark environment, a couple of black-colored zombies with a faint silver shine rushed over. Their green eyes had lost their human emotions, leaving only cruelty, creepiness, bloodthirstiness, and cruelty. All the evil things in the world could be seen in those eyes. It is the Silver Shell Zombie, a rank 6 zombie warrior. Long Yu did not have time to think. She waved the half-moon saw in her hand, and a couple of half-moon-shaped blade lights flew out, dismembering the incoming Silver Shell Zombie. Howl! 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 More and more Silver Shell Zombies came over from all directions. With one glance, it was impossible to count them all. There were at least 1,000 of them. How many clasping Yuan Realm warriors did this corpse man capture? Right then, even Yi Chen could not help but gasp. Every Silver Shell Zombie used to be a clasping Yuan Realm warrior, so 1,000 Silver Shell Zombies meant 1,000 clasping Yuan Realm warriors. It was unimaginable. They are all hopeless. Kill! Xiaoheng yelled as he waved his mid-rank great blade in the air. A crashing sound was heard, as a horrifying blade light split the water apart, landing heavily on the place where the Silver Shell Zombies were the most concentrated. Boom! Dozens of Silver Shell Zombies were cut into pieces by that blade light. Snow Full Bow Blade! Lin Shuihan had also started to show his power. He did not push his 70% blade intent, but only waved his snow-white long blade. The blade chi was like a fully drawn arrow, slicing across the air at an extreme speed. Wherever it went, countless dried heads were thrown into the air. Mountain-splitting fist. Pang Nie had a powerful aura as he threw out a punch. All of the approaching Silver Shell Zombies were blown away, their metal-like bodies shattered into pieces. Zhuang Qinghe trained the same martial art as Zhuang Qingxian and Zhuang Fei, which was the mountain and river great art. His movements were extremely powerful, layered on top of each other. Cut! After cutting dozens of Silver Shell Zombies in half with one sword attack, Yi Chen noticed that although the Fire Man, the Mountain Man and the Lake Man were attacking aggressively, they were not that powerful. He sneered. He would like to see what kind of tricks these three were going to play. Paying attention to the three at all times, Yi Chen killed the Silver Shell corpses that were approaching him casually. Lake Man, why is Brother Kumu not here yet? It is getting late. In the midst of the chaotic battle, the Fire Man sent a Jin Yuan message to the Lake Man. The Lake Man replied, "No hurry. Today, half of them have to stay. Kumu had lost 2 gold shell zombies a while ago. We can use them as materials for the gold shell zombies. Hee, that brat would be a good material as well. Too bad that he had not reached the astral reaching realm yet. Otherwise, he would be able to become a gold shell zombie as well." Chapter 320. The 9 of them were all at the astral reaching realm, or at least as powerful as the astral reaching realm. Even if the Fire Man, the Mountain Man and the Lake Man did not do much, they were still able to clear out the Silver Shell corpses at a very fast speed. Soon, a huge part of the 1,000 Silver Shell corpses had been killed, leaving only hundreds of relatively powerful ones. However, although they were powerful, the power gap between them and the others was too huge. It would only take them a couple of breaths' time to kill them, which would not be a problem for them at all. Ao 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 ao. Right at this moment, the roars of the martial zombies came from all directions. The roars were endless, like the roars of mountains and seas, causing the underground world to shake. Not good, this number has already exceeded 10,000. Long Yu's expression changed drastically. They could kill 1,000 Silver Shell corpses with their power, but 10,000 Silver Shell corpses would take a long time to kill. Not to mention that the Silver Shell corpses had a very powerful defense, which was much harder than killing clasping Yuan Realm warriors, and would consume a lot more Jin Yuan. Yi Chen shook his head. Its aura is a bit weaker than a silver armored corpse. It should be a bronze armored corpse. The bronze shell corpses were rank 5 zombies, they were also made by clasping Yuan Realm warriors. The difference was that most of the rank 5 zombies were made by early or mid-clasping Yuan Realm warriors, while the silver shell corpses were made by mid or late clasping Yuan realm warriors. Of course, although the bronze shell corpses were not as powerful as the silver shell corpses, the number of corpses was still overwhelming. If they wanted to kill all of them, it would take a lot more time and Jin Yuan. Plus, the corpse man had not shown up yet, which made the group feel a bit of pressure. Hee, there are quite a lot of astral reaching experts. They'll make up for my metal shell corpse. After the bronze-armored corpse's roar was followed by a cold and cunning voice. The voice was hoarse and terrifying, like two pieces of steel rubbing against each other, making people feel like vomiting. The corpse man. Needless to guess, the owner of the voice must be one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult, the extremely cruel corpse man, who had killed countless people. Rumble. A wall collapsed, and a black-robed man wearing a ghost mask appeared in front of everyone. His body was as thin as firewood, and his fingernails were black and shiny. His withered skin wrinkled together, forming a grayish-black cuticle, like the claws of an eagle. Zang! Burning sparks flew everywhere. It turned out that the corpse man had clashed with Xiaoheng and his wife. His dry and sharp claws had clashed with the mid-rank great weapon, creating sparks. Xiaoheng and his wife were only mid-astral reaching realm warriors after all. There was still a huge gap between them and the infamous corpse man. They only felt their arms go numb before they were blown away. Old ghost, go to hell. Unexpectedly, the lake man rushed towards the ghost man without caring about his own safety. He threw out a palm attack, bringing up a huge wave of power. The corpse man sneered. His pair of claws broke through his opponent's palm attack and fiercely dashed out. Bang! The lake man's protective Jin Yuan was shattered. Blood spilled out from the corner of his mouth as he was blown backward. His route was the same as Xiaoheng and his wife's. Where are you going? The corpse man followed closely behind. After exchanging a few blows, the four of them gradually left the line of sight of Yi Chen and the others and arrived in another environment. I see. The two great masters of the South Rudra martial school are not their target. Their target is us. Yi Chen thought for a while and understood a lot. The corpse man targeting Xiaoheng and his wife was not reasonable. He probably wanted them to separate from us, to stall them and not kill them. In this way, no one from the South Rudra martial school would die, and it would not piss off the leader of the South Rudra martial school, Long Bai. Plus, the fireman and the other two probably had something to do with the corpse man. Everyone had died except for them, which meant that they were obviously working with the corpse man. Boom. Amidst the tide of bronze-armored corpses, two metal-armored corpses with pitch-black skin and a faint golden glow suddenly emerged. These two metal-armored corpses were nimble. As they leaped, they were like tiny bolts of lightning, rapidly appearing in front of Pang Nia and Zhuang Qinghe. At the same time, a white figure shuttled through the group of bronze-armored corpses, aiming for the slightly weaker Zhuang Qinghe, intending to kill him with a single blow. Pang Nia and Zhuang Qinghe did not dare to underestimate the gold shell corpses and the white shadow, so they attacked with all of their power. Lin Xuehan, the great elder of the North Snow Martial Academy, was not idle either. His opponents were three white-clothed, long-robed men. These three long-robed men seemed to have no physical form, they were floating in the air, and with a flash, they would appear in front of Lin Xuehan. It was impossible to defend against them. Soon, everyone had been separated. Xiaoheng and his wife were fighting with the corpse man, who was far away from them. Pang Nia and Zhuang Qinghe were fighting with two gold shell corpses and one man in long robes, while Lin Xuehan was fighting with the three men in long robes. All the space outside of the fighting area had been filled up by the bronze shell corpses, making it hard for anyone to move. Among everyone, only Yi Chen, the fireman and the mountain man did not have any opponents. The fireman and the mountain man were obviously on the same side as the corpse man, and so was that lake man who had pretended to help Xiaoheng and his wife. Therefore, only Yi Chen was standing alone in the crowd of bronze shell corpses, looking at them coldly without changing his expression. Judging from the situation, the astral-reaching realm warriors from the Windy Nation were not in a good situation. No, it was not in a good situation. It was a sure kill situation. Although the original plan was good, who knew that the fireman and the other two would be working with the corpse man in public, trying to kill everyone except the South Rudra Martial School. Even Yi Chen did not think about this beforehand. He only thought that the corpse man would kill him or the others secretly, and would not do it so openly. Right now, these two were not moving at all, and did not seem to want to help the others. Pang Nia yelled angrily, "Fireman, why are you not doing anything yet?" He had more or less guessed what the fireman was thinking, and sounded very angry. The fireman sneered, "Don't worry, I will do it." The plan was going perfectly. Xiaoheng and his wife had been lured away, so they would not be able to hear what was happening here. Then, he would kill the four of them, including Yi Chen, and then the mountain man would disappear while he himself was injured. Then, when he returned to the Purple Sun Martial School, no one would suspect him. They would only think that the corpse man was too powerful, and only he, Xiaoheng and his wife had made it back, and they were all injured. Of course, it would be impossible for everyone to not suspect him. But without any evidence, the fireman did not think that there would be any accidents. Even the Cloud Dreamer and the Thunder Freer from the Sky Cloud Martial School would not be able to do anything to him. As for the South Rudra Martial School, it was indeed a huge obstacle. He would have to be more careful in the future, in case he got caught. Seeing the fireman and the mountain man coming over, Yi Chen said lightly, "Just you two? I don't think it is enough." "Oh yeah. What about us?" From a dark corner, two human shadows flew over. Judging from their chi, they were definitely peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warriors. With the combination of 4 mid-astral reaching realm warriors, with Yi Chen's current power, he would indeed be killed, unless his fake Xin Yuan layer was able to handle the attacks from the 4 of them. But that would not be possible, since the gap between their realms was too huge. These two were also the remnants of the 9 evil cult. Their status was not as high as the corpse man's, but they were battle attendants. The fireman laughed, "Yi Chen, you did not expect this day, did you? Originally, the ones who would die would be the Cloud Dreamer and the Thunder Freer. Who asked you to be so arrogant and join this mission? This time, you will die for sure. I will ask the Deadwood brother to turn you into a silver shell corpse, and let you suffer a pain worse than death." Yi Chen shook his head. The fake Xin Yuan inside his body started to vibrate for the last time as he said lightly, "Don't joke around. I happen to have no reason to kill you. Let's do it right here and now." Chapter 321. Once he finished talking, the fake Xin Yuan inside Yi Chen's body started to vibrate and merge with each other. A crystal bright light was released, and the qi was extremely sharp. Who? At the same time, the fake Xin Yuan spiral inside his dantian started to expand and shrink. Within a blink of an eye, it had changed dozens of times, and finally expanded to twice its original size. Then, it started to shrink at an unimaginable speed, forming an egg-sized blue core. The blue core looked like a crystal, but not a crystal, like a liquid, but not a liquid. It was somewhere between solid and liquid, with a blue halo on its surface. The halo was like the halo of a star, giving people a mysterious and condensed feeling. But of course, it was more about power and shock. Outside the blue core, there were 9 sharp chi flows spinning around it in a regular pattern. Those sharp chi flows were indeed the Green Lotus Sword chi. After reaching the 13th realm of the Green Lotus Sword spell, not only did the number of Green Lotus Sword chi increase to 9, its power had also increased. Each of them was equivalent to one of Yi Chen's ace attacks. If caught unprepared, people who were more powerful than him could be badly wounded, or even killed. Plus, Yi Chen had just reached the 13th realm not long ago. After a while, the Green Lotus Sword chi would be fully nourished, and its power would be even more horrifying. It had the potential to become Yi Chen's most powerful ace attack, which would allow him to kill warriors at the same level as him. Of course, Yi Chen's talent in martial arts was way too powerful. He was afraid that before the Green Lotus Sword chi could become his most powerful ace attack, he would create another powerful ace attack, just like the one sword attack, which had been gradually replaced by other ace attacks. It had also been combined with the lone peak kill to form the most powerful sword attack, which meant that there would be no chance for it to show up. The good thing was that these 9 green lotus sword chi were inside Yi Chen's body, which was a close-range attack. No matter if it was his most powerful ace attack or not, it would still be very useful. The second he reached the astral reaching realm, Yi Chen's aura had increased drastically. It was way more horrifying than any other clasping Yuan realm warrior. Because he had trained the green lotus sword spell, Yi Chen's aura was different from the others. It was extremely sharp, as if there were countless sawteeth cutting through the surreal space. This is the power of an astral reaching realm warrior. It is even more horrifying than I had imagined. No wonder it is so hard for a clasping Yuan realm warrior to win against an astral reaching realm warrior. There are not that many of them in the whole South Rudra region. Closing his eyes slightly, Yi Chen tightened both of his fists. His aura was still increasing, and outside of his fists, one could vaguely see that sharp blue chi flow spinning, increasing its speed and making a buzzing sound. What? He reached the astral reaching realm. The fireman opened his eyes, the stage of the fire. Mountain visitor's face darkened. Kill. Kill him now that he has just broken through. Otherwise, once he gets used to using Jin Yuan, it will be hard to kill him. Yi yi. Yi. Yi 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 yi. Yi. Yi yi, and yi. Yi opened. Yi yi. He had seen a lot of astral reaching realm warriors burn their Jin Yuan, so how could he not know how to do it? The soul power that was blessed by the heavens was not something that could be used for nothing. Boom! The Jin Yuan inside his body rubbed against each other. A wave of blue flame spread out and rushed out of Yi Chen's body. Looking from afar, it looked like a blue human-shaped fire pillar. As the Jin Yuan burned, Yi Chen's increasing aura suddenly exploded, reaching 2 times of his original power. 2 times of battling power was an ability that only astral reaching realm warriors had. How is this possible? How could it be so easy to burn Jin Yuan for the first time? When the mountain man burned his Jin Yuan for the first time, he had only made a small flame. Not to mention doubling his battling power, it had not even increased by 20%. It took him a month to master the technique of burning Jin Yuan. So what if you have reached the astral reaching realm? So what if you have burned your Jin Yuan? The 4 of us are more than enough to kill you. Die! That muddy yellow Jin Yuan was burning fiercely. The mountain man was the first one to jump at Yi Chen. On his way, a huge iron hammer appeared in each of his hands, which he threw out. Piss off! Yi Chen pointed out his right index finger in the air. A beam of blue sword chi shot out, carrying a horrifying sword intent. It landed on the iron hammer of the mountain man chin. The iron hammer was a low-rank great weapon, containing Jin Yuan. Even if Yi Chen's green lotus sword chi was unbreakable, it still could not leave a scratch on it. However, the attacking power of the sword chi still landed on the iron hammer's Jin Yuan, which was then transmitted into the body of the mountain man. Sparks flew everywhere. Blood spurted out from the corner of the mountain man's mouth as he was blown away. Let's work together and kill him. The fireman had already started to burn his Jin Yuan. As a fire element Jin Yuan cultivator, once he started to burn his Jin Yuan, his battling power would not only increase by 1-fold, but more than 1-fold. Compared to the other astral reaching realm warriors, the water element Jin Yuan cultivators would only be able to increase their battling power by 80 to 90%. However, their recovery speed would be much faster, and burning their Jin Yuan would last longer. Whoosh! Whoosh! The other 2 warriors from the 9 Ghost Cult had also started to burn their Jin Yuan. There were 3 mid-astral reaching realm warriors, and 2 of them were at the peak level of mid-astral reaching realm. Their combined aura was even more powerful than that of a late astral reaching realm warrior. The dark underground world suddenly brought up waves of tornadoes, which blew away all the bronze shell corpses nearby. Kill! Kill! The 3 of them stomped on the ground. The second the mountain man backed out, they attacked towards Yi Chen from 3 different directions. The fireman's weapon was a light red great blade, while the other two had a long stick and a pair of gloves respectively. With the burning Jin Yuan, the attacking power contained in their weapons was even more powerful. They tore apart the air, creating countless cracks in the vacuum space. If the three of you combined your power into one, you might be able to beat me. Unfortunately, if you are separated, you will still be separated. Although it was possible to win with quantity, but quality would always be above quantity. Without quantity reaching a certain level, quality would not be able to win. Chin. The star-scar sword on his waist was taken out of its scabbard. The bright sword light brightened up the dark underground world. Soon, countless electric snakes shot out, and the misty clouds started to roll. Along with Yi Chen's sword aura, all of them had been thrown out. Crack! The first one to puke out blood and back out was the fireman. His battling power had increased the most, but his basic power was not as powerful as the other two. Facing Yi Chen's brutal sword chi, his palm that was holding the light red great blade cracked open. His feet rubbed against the ground as he was blown back. Green Lotus Light. The star-scar sword blocked back, blocking out one of the remaining two's attacks. Yi Chen did not change his posture as he pointed out his right index finger like a ghost. He ignored the distance between him and the other peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warrior, stabbing into his protective Jin Yuan layer. Pooh! His opponent's protective Jin Yuan layer was shattered. The green lotus sword chi circled around his neck once, and a huge head flew into the sky. Damn! Die! The peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warrior who had his attack blocked by Yi Chen saw that his partner had been killed after only one attack. His brutal chi spread out as he threw out another iron fist towards Yi Chen's head. Separate! The separating shadow flying art performed with his Jin Yuan was especially horrifying. Yi Chen's body shook once before disappearing like a wisp of black smoke. Ghost Spirit Art. His opponent's flying art was not weak either. He took a step back unconsciously, leaving a dreamy ghost shadow where he was standing. There was a flash of sword light on the phantom, and then it dissipated and disappeared. Hammer Mountain Pressure. The mountain man came back. He flipped his iron hammer, and the burning yellow Jin Yuan turned into a 10-meter-tall mountain shadow, attacking towards Yi Chen. Freeze! Yi Chen did not dare to ignore the mountain man's attack. Before, he was able to kill the rest of the people from the 9 evil cult, who were even more powerful than the mountain man. It was all because of the unexpected green lotus sword chi inside his body. Plus, his basic power was still not as powerful as the rest of them. His sword intent could only increase his attacking power, but not his defense. After throwing out a sword attack, the air within hundreds of meters had been frozen. Pieces of green lotus appeared in the air, absorbing the yuan chi in the air. The yellow mountain shadow started to slow down, giving Yi Chen time to dodge. He flashed a couple of times, and his real body appeared right next to the mountain man. The mountain man was shocked. He put away one of his iron hammers and flipped his left hand, creating layers of thick yellow mud wall shadows in front of him, blocking Yi Chen's way. Break! Yi Chen did not stop. He threw out his star-scar sword, and a fist-sized green lotus pierced through the yellow mud wall shadows, landing on the mountain man's protective Jin Yuan layer. The two were exchanging attacks as fast as lightning. Plus, with Yi Chen's separating shadow art, it was hard to tell which one was the real one. By the time the fireman and the other 9 ghost cult realized what was going on, the mountain man had already been blown away with blood puking out of his mouth. He landed in the middle of the group of bronze-armored corpses. Yi Chen would not give up the chance to kill his opponent. He lifted up his left index finger and pinky finger, and 2 beams of green lotus sword chi attacked from the left and right. One was attacking from the front, and the other from the side. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere. The mountain man blocked out the first beam of green lotus sword chi, but the second beam of green lotus sword chi bypassed his defense and went right through his skull. Crack! His brain spilled everywhere, and half of the mountain man's head fell off. The cut was smooth and clean, with the red and white mixed together. It was a shocking sight. Within a short period of time, 2 of the 4 people from the fireman's group had been killed. Yi Chen's power had shocked them. He had only just reached the astral reaching realm, but he already had such a horrifying power. After all, the 4 of them were all mid-astral reaching realm warriors, and 2 of them were even at the peak level. If the 4 of them combined their power, they would be able to fight against a late astral reaching realm warrior. However, in front of Yi Chen, they could not even work together, and were killed one by one. If he were to get a little more powerful, who among the astral reaching realm warriors would be able to fight against him? What did it mean to be powerful? This was it. His body drifted as Yi Chen passed through the group of bronze shell corpses. It was even weirder than those invisible men in robes. Lin Shuihan, who was fighting hard, only saw a blur in front of his eyes, and 2 out of the 3 men in robes had been killed. From the corner of his eyes, Yi Chen's back was getting blurry. "Thank you," Lin Shuihan said to himself. He did not choose to help the great master from the Emerald Martial Palace. Whether they were dead or alive, Yi Chen did not care at all. He went back to his own battle, and Yi Chen locked onto the fireman with his chi. "I have been wanting to visit the Purple Sun Martial School for a long time. I will take you as a gift." "How dare you? You are breaking the balance of the Windy Nation." The fireman was scared, so he tried to sound tough. Chapter 322. Yi Chen sneered, "It is still better than you trying to kill all the astral reaching realm warriors in the Windy Nation. If the news gets out, the Purple Sun Martial School would be ruined in your hands. Explode!" As he spoke, Yi Chen slightly twisted his feet on the ground. An explosive-like spinning power went deep into the ground, exploding under the fireman's feet. It was indeed the secret martial art, Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Boom! Rocks flew everywhere as the fireman tried to dodge out of the way. "Next year, today will be your death anniversary." Yi Chen's voice seemed to have some kind of magical power as it went into the fireman's ears. Then, a bright sword light exploded. Within the sword light, a huge green lotus could be vaguely seen. The fireman pushed his Jin Yuan and yelled crazily, "Brother Deadwood, save me!" Crack! Just as he finished speaking, his protective Jin Yuan had been sliced open by that huge sword light. A bloody line appeared from his forehead to his chin. His huge body had been cut in half all of a sudden. After killing the fireman, Yi Chen looked at the last person. Run! This person knew that Yi Chen was not a match for him, so he did not think about anything else. "Do you think you can run away?" Using his flying art, Yi Chen chased after him. The 2 were both astral reaching realm warriors, so they could run at an amazing speed. Hundreds of meters only took them a second to cover. Plus, since their Jin Yuan was way too powerful, it had sucked out all the air around them, making them stand in a vacuum. Therefore, the sound they made was very soft, unlike clasping Yuan realm warriors, who would make a sonic boom when they ran at full speed. Die! Like a maggot on a bone, Yi Chen soon shortened the distance between them. He focused his kill heart sword attack, which looked like a shooting star in the sky, flashing once before disappearing. Swoosh! The man's running posture did not change, but his Jin Yuan had been weakened drastically. A huge head shot up into the sky with blood pouring out of it, looking very unwilling. "Right now, I finally have the power to do whatever I want in the South Ridra region. Without Sea of Souls realm warriors, it would not be easy for anyone to kill me." After killing 4 mid-astral reaching realm warriors in a row, Yi Chen felt a sense of pride. Before, although he was extremely talented and had a great comprehensive ability, he always felt like he was in a precarious situation. Therefore, he had to think twice before doing anything, and be extremely cautious. Right now, mid-astral reaching realm warriors were nothing in his eyes. Even if he were to encounter a late astral reaching realm warrior, he would still have the power to fight back. Of course, Yi Chen also knew that the reason why he was able to kill mid-astral reaching realm warriors was not only because of his powerful 80% sword intent, but also because of all the top-level martial arts he had trained. He would not be at a disadvantage in terms of martial arts, and his only weakness would be his cultivation. After this, I have to go to the natural moat gorge to learn the Battle King's sword intent and try to reach the next level. If I can train my sword intent to 90% or even complete, then I would be able to compete with late astral reaching realm warriors. Then, I will try to increase my cultivation. Once I reach the peak level of early astral reaching realm, my battling power would reach a very high level. With mid-astral reaching realm, I would basically be able to do whatever I want in the whole South Ridra region. I would also not have to be afraid of some peak-level late astral reaching realm warriors who had trained powerful martial arts. Yi Chen knew very well that some of the warriors who were stuck at the peak level of late astral reaching realm and could not make it to the Sea of Souls realm would be extremely horrifying. With his current power, he would not be able to fight against them. The good thing was that these people usually did not go out, and there were not many of them, so the chance of running into them was almost negligible. I will take it one step at a time. The natural moat gorge will be my first destination. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen's mind seemed to have cleared up a lot, and his sword intent was even more powerful. Yi Chen, you and I are both astral reaching realm warriors from the Windy Nation. Why are you not coming to help us? Without us, you would still die in the hands of the ghost corpse man. Pang Nie's voice was heard. Yi Chen looked over. Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe's opponents were two gold shell corpses and a man in a long robe. These two gold shell corpses were even more powerful than what the fireman had described. One of them had a dark gold color on its dark skin, which meant that it was a rank 8 zombie warrior. Its defense was extremely horrifying, and it could almost ignore Pang Nie's attacks. The other gold shell corpse was also at the peak level of rank 7 zombie warrior. Its light gold color seemed to be developing towards the dark gold color. It should have been a rather powerful mid-astral reaching realm warrior when it was alive. These two gold shell corpses had completely suppressed Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe. Added with the man in a long robe who did not have a high cultivation, the two were in a dangerous situation. I will start with you two first. Before Yi Chen could reply, a ghost-like figure appeared near Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe. It was indeed the ghost corpse man. His whole body was covered with a dark gray protective Jin Yuan, and the evil face mask was releasing a horrifying qi. It was only a flash, and he was about to kill the two. How dare you? Pang Nie was shocked. He pushed his Jin Yuan to its limit, and a huge fire wave shot out of his body. It was extremely powerful. Zhuang Qinghe, who was on the side, knew very well that he would not be able to handle a full power attack from the ghost corpse man, and that he would not be able to survive today. He performed his mountain and river great art, and his Jin Yuan attacked towards the ghost corpse man like a huge wave. The ghost corpse man chuckled as he twisted his right hand. With a shoo sound, his right hand went through Pang Nie's fist power and sliced through his left arm. At the same time, he held a golden skull in his left hand and threw it towards Zhuang Qinghe. The three passed by each other. The ghost corpse man was holding an arm in his hand. On the other hand, Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe had lost their left arm and life respectively. Facing a full power attack from the ghost corpse man, one was wounded and the other was dead. Losing interest in killing Pang Nie, the ghost corpse man turned his attention to Lin Xuehan, who had just killed the man in long robes. Boom! On his way, the ghost corpse man suddenly lifted up his golden skull, clashing with the incoming sword qi. Kid, you are looking for death. Originally, the ghost corpse man was planning to kill Lin Xuehan first. However, he did not expect that Yi Chen would stop him and attack him with a sharp sword qi. After killing a huge group of bronze shell corpses, Yi Chen stood there quietly. This is the end. He did not care about the two great masters from the Emerald Martial Palace, but the great master from the North Snow Martial Academy could save his life. However, this ghost corpse man was indeed powerful. He could shatter Yi Chen's sword qi in a hurry, which meant that he was way more powerful than the fireman Shu. Shu! Shu! 3 human figures appeared one after another. They were Xiaoheng and his wife, and the lake man. All 3 of them had been wounded quite badly. Xiaoheng and his wife were not sure if it was just an illusion, but the ghost corpse man had not used all of his power yet. Of course, since they dared to come to the ghost corpse man's base, they all had their ace cards prepared. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not use them easily. Xiao Heng and his wife could not just sit and watch Pang Nye get killed, so they hurried to help him fight against the two gold shell corpses and the man in long robes. As for the lake man, he looked a bit gloomy. He could not see the fireman and the rest of the bronze shell corpses, so he did not know what had happened. Pang Nye, where are the others? Xiao Heng asked. Pang Nye spat out a mouthful of blood. That fireman and the ghost corpse man were in cahoots. There were two other powerful warriors, but they were both dead. Pang Nye glanced at Yi Chen with hatred. Although the ghost corpse man's attacking speed was extremely fast, he did not think that Yi Chen would save him at all. Xiao Heng and his wife were shocked. This Yi Chen was unexpectedly powerful. He had reached the astral reaching realm. Was it an accident, or, the ghost corpse man said to the lake man, kill them all. Everything is out of our control now. He was talking about the couple. According to the plan, they did not need to be killed, because killing them would cause a lot of trouble. But now, it seemed like they had to kill them. Once the fireman and the other three had died, the plan had gone into an unknown direction, and the cause of all of this was Yi Chen. The lake man had a creepy look on his face. He looked at Long Yu with a hint of evil in his eyes. Finally, he did not have to hold it in anymore. He could just run away from the Windy Nation. The battle had started again, but this time, there was a slight change. The lake man, who had been helping the couple, had now become the ghost corpse man's helper. He fought with the two gold shell corpses and the man in long robes. Of course, there was also the horrifying amount of bronze shell corpses. Pulling back his attention, the ghost corpse man knew that Yi Chen was the key. Only by killing him would he be able to kill everyone from the Windy Nation. Right now, all he needed to do was to maintain the situation. You are the one who killed the fireman and the rest. Yi Chen did not answer but asked, you must be the leader of the Wild Five, the Deadwood Man, right? I wonder if your original name was the Deadwood Man or the Ghost Corpse Man. Before the fireman died, he had called him Brother Deadwood. Therefore, Yi Chen knew that the Ghost Corpse Man was the Deadwood Man, and the Wild Five were actually all in the Windy Nation. The only question was whether the fireman was working with the Ghost Corpse Man, or if he had already become part of the Nine Ghost cult. But none of this mattered anymore. The fireman was already dead, and he no longer existed in this world. Both of them are my names. Too bad, all the enemies who know my name have to die. You are no exception. Die! The gold skull was transferred to his right hand as the ghost corpse man rushed towards Yi Chen at an extreme speed. Sky-shattering clouds. Facing the infamous ghost corpse man, Yi Chen did not back out at all. Instead, he lifted up his sword and faced him head-on. Boom! The gold skull clashed with the Star-Scar sword. The dark underground world shook a little bit, and a lot of rocks fell down from above. Who was more powerful and who was weaker, it would be easy to tell. The ghost corpse man backed out 3 steps. Yi Chen backed out 10 steps. The gap between their cultivation was too huge. Even though Yi Chen had trained the top-rank Earthrealm martial art, the Green Lotus sword spell, and had 80% sword intent, it was still not enough to make up for the gap. However, being able to handle a full attack from the Ghost Corpse Man was already very impressive, since the Ghost Corpse Man was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 Ghost cult. Even if he was not famous for his battling power, he should not be underestimated. Normal late astral reaching realm warriors might not even be able to run away from him. Hehe, I am afraid that you will die here today. The Ghost Corpse Man had made up his mind, as he sneered. Yi Chen's expression did not change. There was a bloody light burning inside his body as he said, not necessarily. Oh yeah. Then I will see how you are going to fight against me. The gray-black Ghost Corpse Man's Xin Yuan shot up into the sky. The Ghost Corpse Man held the gold skull in his right hand, looking like a demon stepping on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. I said, not necessarily. You were able to rule the Windy Nation before, but today, it is not your world anymore. Crack! The ground cracked open as a bloody red chi flow exploded from Yi Chen's body. It combined with his burning Jin Yuan, turning into a greenish-red color all of a sudden. That intense aura spread out in all directions, blowing away all the bronze shell corpses that were surrounding him. Chapter 323. Just as I expected, the minor blood demon body separating Great Art and burning Jin Yuan cancel each other out, only increasing my battling power by 20%. The burning of Jin Yuan was too powerful, and even the minor blood demon body separating Great Art could not compete with it. Before, it could increase his battling power by 50%, but now, it had only increased by 20%. Plus, the burning speed of his chi and blood was even faster than before, which would not last long. If he had guessed it right, as his cultivation increased, the power of burning Jin Yuan would increase, and the minor blood demon body separating Great Art would eventually be eliminated. Of course, under the condition of burning Jin Yuan, being able to increase his battling power by 20% was already very shocking. It was even 20% more powerful than astral-reaching realm warriors who trained fire element Jin Yuan. Whoosh! The blue-red Jin Yuan flame burned brightly as Yi Chen lifted up his head and looked at the corpse man. The corner of the corpse man's eyes twitched. This brat had trained the blood demon's minor blood demon body separating Great Art. He did not know how the blood demon had given out his own secret martial art and given it to someone else. Take one of my attacks first. A ghostly wailing sound came from the golden skull as the corpse man took a step forward. It was as if a demon had arrived, attacking towards Yi Chen's head. A green lotus flower seizing art blocked out the corpse man's attack. Yi Chen waved his left hand, and two beams of green lotus sword chi shot out, attacking towards the corpse man's throat and heart. Pooh! The eagle claw-like left hand sliced open the sword chi, while the other beam of sword chi drew a beautiful arc in the air and brushed past the corpse man's chest, bringing up a small piece of disgusting flesh. Damn! Corpse fire! The corpse man was furious. As the golden skull shook, two balls of gray flame shot out, sticking onto Yi Chen's protective Jin Yuan. This flame is not simple. The gray flame had a strong corrosive power. It did not go out even after touching the Jin Yuan flame. Instead, it started to corrode Yi Chen's body. Without a choice, Yi Chen's Jin Yuan exploded, shooting out both his protective Jin Yuan and corpse fire, killing dozens of bronze shell corpses. The corpse man was caught off guard, and was hit by that Jin Yuan. He backed out 4 or 5 steps, his gray protective Jin Yuan shaking. Corpse drill. Stopping himself from backing out, the corpse man's 5 fingers on his left hand formed into an awl shape, with 5 hard black nails at the front. Around those nails, a gray-black Jin Yuan started to spin intensely, forming into a gray-black Jin Yuan drill. He then tried to drill towards Yi Chen. Xiao! The sound of breaking air was extremely soft. In the blink of an eye, the Jin Yuan drill had arrived in front of Yi Chen. So fast! Quick sword intent burst out as Yi Chen blocked the Jin Yuan drill with his sword. Whoosh! Whoosh! Blazing sparks scattered in all directions. The true essence drill gradually lost its momentum and dispersed. Seizing the opportunity, the gold skull flew out of the corpse man's hand and into the air. Spheres of gray flame spread out like a rain of fire. Shadow explosion. Dozens of shadows exploded. Yi Chen's real body quickly left the area covered by the rain of fire. Most of the shadows were ignited by the corpse fire and disappeared. This kid is too hard to deal with. I have to kill him to avoid future troubles. After fighting for so long, the corpse man had almost used all of his power. Not only did he not manage to hurt Yi Chen, he had even lost a small piece of his flesh. Although he was a zombie warrior, and a little bit of flesh was nothing to him, as one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 Ghost cult, he had dominated the Windy Nation for dozens of years. There were at least dozens of astral-reaching realm warriors who had died in his hands. He had never been taken advantage of by a young warrior. The anger in his heart was gradually ignited, and a creepy green color appeared in his black eyes. Ghost roar art. Opening his stinky mouth, the corpse man pushed his Jin Yuan and formed an illusory skull in his throat. As the skull opened its mouth, a horrifying sound wave burst out. The sound wave had a faint gray-black color, spreading out in the shape of a wave. All of a sudden, the dark underground world was filled with screams and screams, as if hell had reappeared. What a powerful sound wave art! Yi Chen pushed his Jin Yuan as hard as he could, protecting his mind and ears. However, the sound wave was not just a simple sound, it also contained a power that was hard to defend against. Pooh! Blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen staggered backward. The others were not as lucky as him. The sound wave had pierced through their ears, making them all bleed out of their orifices. They looked like they were in pain, especially Pang Ya. Since he had lost an arm to the corpse man earlier, he was badly wounded. Being shaken by the sound wave, the Jin Yuan inside his body could no longer be suppressed. It rushed up, and he puked out a stream of blood. He had almost been killed by his own Jin Yuan. The lake man was shocked. The corpse man had used his ghost roar art, which consumed a lot of Jin Yuan. According to what he knew, the ghost roar art was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 ghost cult, which was just as famous as the blood demon. With one roar, it could kill a huge amount of weaker opponents. Even warriors at the same level would have to back out, unable to compete with it. That brat was surprisingly powerful, forcing the corpse man to use his ghost roar art, which he was not that familiar with yet. Kill Heart Sword. Seeing that the corpse man was going to perform his ghost roar art, Yi Chen's face turned cold. He held his star scar sword with both of his hands and sank his mind into it, throwing out an attack along with his 80% sword intent. The sword chi was like a pillar, fast like lightning. Crack! The corpse man forcefully released his ghost roar art, his gold skull blocking in front of the sword chi. Shoo! Sparks shot out in a fan shape. The corpse man's blocking was a bit slow after all. The gold skull had only brushed against the sword chi, missing its target. The next second, a bone-deep sword mark appeared on his shoulder. He had almost lost one of his good arms, which was not a small loss. How is this possible? Although my ghost roar art is not that good yet, even a late astral reaching realm warrior would have their chi and blood boiled under this roar. They would not be able to fight back immediately. The corpse man could tell that Yi Chen was wounded. However, the biggest use of his ghost roar art was actually to weaken his opponent's condition, allowing him to gain the upper hand. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The corpse man's sound wave art was indeed out of his expectation. The good thing was that he had trained the Green Lotus Sword spell, and it had already reached the 13th realm. Although his Jin Yuan did not seem to be as rich as his opponent's, it was actually slightly better in terms of purity. Besides that, the corpse man's ghost roar art was not that good, and had a lot of flaws. Otherwise, the situation would be even more dangerous, since both of them were at the same power level. The two were in a stalemate, neither of them willing to attack first. Meanwhile, the battle between Xiao Heng and his wife was still going on. Because Pang Ya could no longer fight, the couple and Lin Shuihan were slowly falling into a disadvantage. They were being suppressed by the lake man, the 2 gold shell corpses, and a man in long robes. Let's fight together. Xiao Heng signaled Long Yu. Yeah. Long Yu nodded. A water-like water Jin Yuan rushed out of her body, which looked extremely heavy. A pinky-sized drop of Jin Yuan landed on the ground, immediately creating a small deep hole. At this moment, the 8th grade zombie, Metal Elite Zombie, stomped on the ground and rushed towards the two. Big water wave dragon break art. 2 loud yells were heard. Xiao Heng and Long Yu's water Jin Qi combined together, performing an extremely horrifying secret skill. In the middle of the raging waves, a huge dragon that was completely made of water Jin Yuan broke through the waves. The huge dragon shook its head and tail, and an ancient aura spread out in the air. Oh no! It is the secret skill of the dragon god's celestial palace. The lake man's expression suddenly turned dark. Boom! The rank 8 gold shell corpse was even more powerful than a peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warrior. However, the huge dragon made of water Jin Yuan was even more powerful. With a wave of the dragon's claw, it had been blown away immediately. It was like a broken bag being blown away by a defenseless kid. Whoa! The huge dragon roared into the sky, attacking towards the lake man and the others. Blue wave spell. Cloud-piercing attack. The lake man drew a circle with his left hand while his right hand shot out. It was also a huge wave, but the difference was that there was a long spear made of water Jin Yuan shooting out towards the huge dragon. The huge dragon and the long spear clashed, and the lake man was completely defeated. The huge dragon and the long spear had lost one of its right claws, and the long spear had been shattered. When Xiaoheng and his wife performed that horrifying secret skill, even the ghost corpse man might not be able to handle it, not to mention the lake man who was only at mid-astral reaching realm. The huge dragon's tail swept over, forcing the lake man to puke out a mouthful of blood. He had no way of fighting back at all. The other gold shell corpse next to him had also been blown away. As for that man in long robes, there were 2 of them. Seeing that the situation was not right, they did not try to fight against the huge dragon at all. Instead, they took the chance when the lake man was about to fight back and flew to the right. Xiaoheng and his wife knew that they could not afford to lose this opportunity. This secret skill was extremely hard for them to perform. Once their Jin Yuan could not keep up, the huge dragon would disappear. Therefore, they planned to kill the lake man and the others while they still had enough Jin Yuan, not giving them the chance to fight back. Evil corpse drill. The ghost corpse man had caught up. He threw out an evil corpse drill with his left hand while his right hand held the gold skull and threw it towards the huge dragon. He yelled, "Everyone, retreat!" The huge dragon had been shattered, and the ghost corpse man backed out for dozens of steps. The lake man's face was pale, and he was badly wounded. However, even in this kind of situation, he still stared at Long Yu with evil intentions. He then looked at Yi Chen, who was at the peak of his power. Right then, the situation was completely out of control. The ghost corpse man could not do anything to that brat, so staying here would only put him in danger. Let's go. The lake man and the man in long robes decided to retreat first. As for the 2 gold shell corpses, they would only listen to the ghost corpse man, so they did not have to worry about them. Ghost smoke. Staring at Yi Chen, who had caught up to him, the corpse man threw out 3 black pellets. The pellets exploded, and an endless amount of black smoke spread out. Leave something behind before you leave. The black smoke could not block out Yi Chen's soul power. He waved his star-scar sword, and a fist-sized green lotus pierced through the smoke, landing on the ghost corpse man's left arm. The whole left arm fell off. The ghost corpse man screamed as he walked further and further away. His evil voice lingered in the smoke, "Brat, wait for me to come back. It will be your death day. No one will be able to save you." Yi Chen did not plan to chase after him. Before, he had noticed that the ghost corpse man's wound had already been healed. Although he had lost an arm, neither of them had prepared for a battle of life and death. He knew that the ghost corpse man must have left some horrifying ace attacks behind. Yi Chen sneered, "If you don't come back, you might still have a chance to live. If you come back, you will only die faster." Right now, he had just reached the astral reaching realm, so his foundation was not very stable. Once he stabilized his cultivation, he would go to the natural moat gorge to learn the Battle King's sword intent. Not to mention the ghost corpse man, even Jin Huang would not be able to kill him. Chapter 324. Once the corpse man had left, Xiaoheng and his wife let out a breath of relief. Although they had prepared for everything before they came, it was still quite hard to face him. Even the big water wave dragon break art might not be able to do anything to him. Luckily, Yi Chen was very powerful. He had managed to block the corpse man all by himself, and had gained quite the upper hand. Otherwise, it would not be the corpse man who had backed out, but them. Warrior Yi, no wonder the leader thinks so highly of you. Long Yu looked at Yi Chen. This old monster is not simple. If we keep fighting, the result will be unpredictable. As they were talking, Yi Chen released his minor blood demon body separating great art and put out the burning Jin Yuan. He then let out a mouthful of turbid qi, which was slightly hot and filled with the smell of blood. The minor blood demon body separating great art consumed a lot of qi and blood, which was a huge burden on the body. Even though Yi Chen had been trained by the sky demon flower and had just reached the astral reaching realm, his body was way more powerful than other astral reaching realm warriors at the same level. However, burning Jin Yuan was different. It was something that all astral reaching realm warriors would try their best to avoid. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not want to burn their Jin Yuan. The side effects of burning Jin Yuan and the minor blood demon body separating great art combined together would be too much for Yi Chen's body. Perhaps only Su Jing's body would be able to last for a long time. This was also the main reason why he did not chase after the corpse man nearby. Pang Ye held up Zhuang Qinghe's body and said with his teeth clenched, "Fire man, don't think that I will give up on revenge just because you are dead. From now on, the Purple Sun Martial School will no longer exist in the Windy Nation." In fact, he hated Yi Chen a lot as well. However, Yi Chen was way too powerful, so Pang Ye did not dare to curse out loud. Otherwise, if he pissed off Yi Chen, he might be killed. Lin Shuihan sighed, "Brother Pang, I am sorry for your loss. This time, we have all underestimated the fireman's plan." Before they came, none of them had thought that the fireman would work with the ghost corpse man and try to kill them all. Even now, Lin Shuihan was still scared. The corpse man had left, leaving behind a huge number of bronze shell corpses. Xiaoheng and his wife were afraid that these corpses would leave the underground world and bring disaster to the Windy Nation, so they joined hands to kill them. Yi Chen and Lin Shuihan glanced at each other, then they also went up to kill those bronze shell corpses that were not that powerful. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed, and Yi Chen had already returned to the Sky Cloud Martial School. After a month of training, Yi Chen had basically consolidated his early astral reaching realm cultivation base. If he wanted to take another step forward, it would not be something that could be done in a day. On this day, Yi Chen bid farewell to Cloud Dreamer and went to the natural moat gorge of Wild Goose Falling River alone. On the way, he purposely passed by the vicinity of the house of Ziyang and discovered that there was a faint glow of blood in the sky above the house of Ziyang. That was the sign of a large number of highly skilled cultivators dying. There were a lot of warriors around the Purple Sun Martial School, some of which were powerful late-clasping Yuan realm warriors. Who could have known that the Fire Man had colluded with the Corpse Man and killed the great third master of the Emerald Martial School? Now, the great head master of the Emerald Martial School, who had lost an arm, had come to the Purple Sun Martial School to take revenge. He had killed the leader and all of the core masters of the Purple Sun Martial School. Even half of the inner masters had died. Since then, the Purple Sun Martial School has completely fallen. There are only 4 top martial institutions left in the Windy Nation. Look! It is an astral reaching realm warrior. Isn't that the great master of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chen? I heard that he had also participated in the operation to kill the Corpse Man, but he was not injured at all. That great master of the Emerald Martial School had lost an arm. Plus, this Yi Chen has reached the astral reaching realm. He has a horrifying potential. Someone had noticed the existence of Yi Chen. Yi Chen did not pay attention to them and flew directly towards the entrance of the Purple Sun Martial School. In front of the entrance of the Purple Sun Martial School, a large number of disciples and masters had left the mountain. They did not want to stay in the declining Purple Sun Martial School anymore. Plus, they had offended the Emerald Martial School, which meant that the future of the Purple Sun Martial School would not be easy. If they did not make a decision now, they would regret it. Among all the masters, Yi Badian and his eldest son, Yi Feng, were walking down the mountain. Yi Badian lifted up his head and saw Yi Chen. He had a complicated look on his face. This time, the inner masters of the Purple Sun Martial School had been severely injured or killed. He was supposed to die as well, but Pang Nia had asked him if he was Yi Badian from the Yi family. After getting his answer, Pang Nia had decided not to kill him. A few of the inner masters who had a good relationship with him had also been spared. Yi Badian was not stupid. After thinking about it for a long time, he had thought that Yi Chen was afraid of Yi Chen and would not dare to kill him. Right then, seeing the profound qi coming from Yi Chen, he had confirmed his guess. He wanted to say something, but did not know what to say. Yi Chen looked indifferent. He turned around and shot into the distance, disappearing without a trace within a second. The Purple Sun Martial School had already fallen, so there was no need for Yi Chen to find trouble with them. The Wild Goose Falling River was one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. It was 650,000 miles long, and its main road went through the Windy Nation, the Thousand Thread Nation, the Grey Mystery Nation, and the other 12 nations. Its tributaries were tens of thousands of miles long, covering most of the 15 nations. On the boundless Wild Goose Falling River, Yi Chen flew across the water surface. Last time, I met the Black Crow Man, an astral reaching realm martial artist. This is the second time I've come to the Wild Goose Falling River, and I'm already an astral reaching realm martial artist, and my cultivation is even higher than the Black Crow Man's. Life is so wonderful. Looking at the ocean beast of the South Chamber of Commerce, Yi Chen sighed. An astral reaching realm martial artist. The passengers on the ocean beast saw Yi Chen flying across the sky. They all yelled out in surprise. The natural moat gorge, which was over 17,000 meters tall and divided into 2, gradually came into view. Yi Chen took a deep breath and raised his speed to his limit. Swoosh! Within 10 blinks of an eye, Yi Chen was less than 5 miles away from the natural moat gorge. From here on, I have to be extra careful. Standing in front of the branch of the Wild Goose Falling River, Yi Chen didn't choose to fly anymore. Instead, he stepped on the water surface step by step, approaching the natural moat gorge. Back when he was on the ocean beast, he was slightly injured when he was only 10 miles away from the natural moat gorge. But now, he was completely unharmed when he was only 5 miles away from the natural moat gorge, which was a huge improvement. Inside his storage ring, the broken Battle Emperor's sword jumped up as usual, but was firmly suppressed by Yi Chen. 3 miles away from the natural moat gorge. Boom! A horrifying sword intent surged out. Yi Chen, who had been prepared for this, leapt backwards and left the area. Horrifying. Back then, the Sky Pillar Mountain was divided into 2 and became the natural moat gorge. The crack of the natural moat gorge seems to be an outlet for the sword intent. I can't even get close to it. What should I do? Before, Yi Chen thought that the sword intent in the natural moat gorge would grow stronger gradually, but who knew that the sword intent would suddenly surge after he entered the 3 miles area? If he moved forward recklessly, he might be injured by the powerful sword intent, which was not what he wanted to see. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen decided to start from other places, to see if there was a suitable place for him to study the sword intent. If he couldn't find a suitable place to study the sword intent, he would have to figure out another way. 3 miles away from the natural moat gorge, Yi Chen was flying around it. Soon, Yi Chen arrived at the left side of the natural moat gorge. It was a flat area where many warriors had gathered. In front of them was the left side of the natural moat gorge. There was a huge crack on the top of the mountain, which was hundreds to tens of meters wide. There is sword intent here as well. The whole natural moat gorge had been split in half by the Battle King's sword attack. Perhaps it was because of the vibrations, but the left side of the gorge had a crack. Under the crack was not water, but hard mud and a small stream. If one walked straight in, they would be able to reach the inside of the gorge. But of course, that would be suicidal. Dispersing his Jin Yuan, Yi Chen slowly landed on the flat ground, 5 miles away from the crack. Nearby, a female sword artist had just recovered from studying the sword intent. She turned her head to look at Yi Chen and said warmly, this is one of the release points of the natural moat gorge. But, it is not as powerful as the sword intent on the other side of the gorge. If you are careful, you should be fine. Thanks for the reminder. Yi Chen nodded. He could tell that the female sword artist's sword intent had reached 50%, and she was also an early astral reaching realm warrior herself. Perhaps it was because she thought that Yi Chen was very young and handsome. The female sword artist pointed around and said, I have been here for a while, and I have seen a lot of people training their sword intent here. 7 miles away from the crack would be the best place to train entry-level sword intent. 6 miles would be the best place to train 40% sword intent, 5 miles would be the best place to train 50% sword intent, and so on. Do not be reckless. You also have 50% sword intent. After talking for a while, the female sword artist realized that Yi Chen was able to stand right next to her and be fine, which meant that he had obviously reached 50% sword intent. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to be less than 20 years old. Yi Chen chuckled and asked, then, there are sword-shaped plants up there? The female sword artist nodded and said, yes. But, there are all of the top warriors from all of the martial institutions up there. It would be best if you do not think about the sword-shaped plants. But of course, if it comes from the stream, then it would not be under their control. We can fight for it ourselves. Sword-shaped plants come from this stream? Don't look down on this stream. There are a lot of people staring at it every day. If you could get a sword-shaped plant from the stream, it would be much better than cultivating here for a couple of months. If you are lucky, you might even be able to increase your sword intent. If you are not, you might even be able to accumulate some sword intent knowledge. Oh! It seems like this place is quite popular. The female sword artist said disappointedly, I have seen a couple of sword-shaped plants coming out from the stream, but they had all been taken by the powerful warriors in front of us. What can I do? My sword intent could not go any further. Otherwise, I would be able to join the fight. In this place, cultivation did not have much of an influence. The main thing was still the sword intent. If one's sword intent was high, then they would be able to get close to the crack. If one's sword intent was low, then they would only be able to watch others fight for the plants. Perhaps your luck will change. After understanding some of the common sense, Yi Chen decided not to stay any longer. He prepared to walk closer. What are you doing? The female sword artist covered her mouth. In her sight, Yi Chen's body flashed once and appeared 5 miles away from the crack. The sword intent there did not affect him at all. It was not over yet. Yi Chen continued to walk. Soon, he was 3 miles away from the crack, and then 2 miles away. Oh my god! 80% sword intent. How did he learn it? The female sword artist looked like she could not believe it. There were not many sword artists near the crack. There were only 3 of them. One was an elder in his 60s, and the other 2 were middle-aged men with cold faces. Seeing Yi Chen walking over, the elder seemed to be thinking about something. The 2 middle-aged men's expressions changed a couple of times. They were obviously shocked by Yi Chen's sword intent realm. Yi Chen did not care about them. He only stopped when he was at the very front of the crack. The sword intent here is just within my limit. I will train it here. Taking out his star scar sword and wearing it on his left waist, Yi Chen glanced at the elder and the 2 middle-aged men. Seeing that they did not have any strange reactions, he then closed his eyes slightly, feeling the mysterious sword intent leaking out. Chapter 325. After a whole hour, Yi Chen finally woke up from his training state. Compared to the sword-shaped plant, the sword intent that leaked out from the crack contained more information, but it was also more chaotic. It was not as orderly as the sword-shaped plant. Yi Chen now understood why the sword-shaped plant was so popular. Although he could train the sword intent in the natural moat canyon at any time, without any obstacles or time limit, the sword intent in the canyon was so powerful. Being covered by the sword intent, he would be like a fish swimming against the current, unable to see the whole river flow. He could only passively accept the information that he could get. After 2 hours, the information that Yi Chen had received was all fragmented and messy. Wanting to learn something from it would be extremely difficult. However, the sword-shaped plant was different. It had absorbed the sword intent from the canyon and made a simple arrangement, which made the training easier. In other words, it was a weaker version of the sword intent of the Battle King. Of course, it was at least 1,000 times weaker, which was extremely different from the complete sword intent of the Battle King. No rush. Although the sword intent is fragmented, it is not completely useless. At least, it can increase my sword intent foundation. In the future, I might be able to connect them together. A few thoughts flashed through his mind as Yi Chen continued to sink into his training state. 3 days had passed in a row. A few of the sword artists within miles had left, and a few more had come. The number had always been the same. That kind-hearted female sword artist was very patient. She had been staying where she was without moving. She would occasionally look towards Yi Chen's direction. Whoosh! Whoosh! That day, a crazy wind suddenly blew out from the crack. The wind was like a dragon's roar, a tiger's roar, or even a ghost's cry. It was extremely horrifying. Wind! Wind! The sword artists at the back saw it, and their faces were filled with excitement. Yi Chen thought about it. Could it be that the wind would bring the sword-shaped plant out? That would explain why everyone, including the female sword artist, were so excited. Shoo! Just as he thought about it, a sharp air-piercing sound was heard from within the heavy wind. He looked up and saw a sword-shaped plant shoot out from within the grey wind. This sword-shaped plant contained a powerful sword intent. Although it was not controlled by anyone, it still displayed a shocking attacking power. It was like an unsheathed great sword. This is mine. Near Yi Chen, a skinny middle-aged man with a cold face jumped up from the ground, trying to grab the plant. This sword-shaped plant should be mine. The old man in his 60s laughed out loud. He stomped on the ground and sent out waves of earth as he chased after the thin middle-aged man. The speed of the two was extremely fast. They approached the sword-shaped plant in an instant and started to fight for it. Humph, who dares to fight with me? The other middle-aged man was not as fast as the other two, but the sword-shaped plant was something he had to get. He opened his 5 fingers, which contained sword light. He grabbed in the air, and 5 beams of sword light interweaved together, shooting out. The 3 of them did not pull out their swords. For sword artists, once they pulled out their swords, there would be blood. It was not the time for them to risk their lives yet, so they were all holding back. Yi Chen smiled. His body disappeared with the wind. When he reappeared, he was already on the other side. He extended his arm and picked up a sword-shaped plant from the air. What? There is another one? I could not even hear anything. Damn it, the 3 of us fought to the death, and he got one so easily. The 3 of them who were fighting for the plant looked bad. In the end, it was the elder who was more skillful, and he got the plant. Hee, little brother, you have sharp senses. Impressive. Putting away the plant, the elder moved away from the 2 middle-aged men and looked at Yi Chen with a smile. Yi Chen said, "You were attracted by the first plant. It is not because of my sharp senses." Yi Chen would not dare to underestimate the 3. Before, his sword intent was his advantage, and it was also one of the reasons why he could fight beyond his realm. However, these 3 people's sword intent was not weaker than his, so it would be impossible for him to get the upper hand with his sword intent. Especially that elder, he had the highest cultivation among the 4, reaching mid-astral reaching realm. The other 2 middle-aged men were not bad either, both at peak level early astral reaching realm, which was higher than Yi Chen. Is that so? The elder obviously did not believe what Yi Chen had said. As a sword artist, his senses were already very sharp. It was not that they had never seen a couple of plants shooting out at the same time, but this time, they did not sense anything at all. Yi Chen being able to sense the second plant so easily was enough to explain the situation. If he was only a bit interested in Yi Chen before, then right now, he had already considered Yi Chen as a powerful opponent for the plant. As for the two middle-aged men who did not get the plant, a strange light flashed through their eyes. They seemed to want to take Yi Chen's plant by force, but they were also quite scared of him. The wind is still blowing. Let's see what we can do. Yi Chen did not expect them to believe him. Lowering his attitude was just to ease the atmosphere. If they were too aggressive, he would not mind fighting with them. The four of them had their own thoughts as they focused on the gray wind. Behind them, a lot of sword artists started to yell. They got it again. We can't even get the leftovers. What can we do? They are in the 2-mile area, which is the front line. We are too far away, and the plant would not be able to get here. Sigh. Before, there were only 3 of them. Sometimes, there would be 1 or 2 fish that slipped through the net. Now, there is 1 more. Our chance of getting the plant is getting lower and lower. It was very rare for the wind to blow inside the crack. It would only happen once or twice a month. Every time the wind blew, it would be the time when the plant would appear the most. Basically, there would be a different amount of plants flying out. Therefore, a lot of sword artists were looking forward to the wind inside the crack. They wished that it would blow every day. Although there were plants flying out of the stream, the speed of the stream was way too slow. The chance of the people behind them getting the plant from the stream was almost 0, unless there was no one in front of them. The female sword artist saw that Yi Chen had gotten a sword-shaped plant so easily, so she was a bit surprised. Those 3 in the 2-mile area were not simple at all. A lot of powerful warriors had tried to fight against the Battle King's sword intent, trying to take the food from them, but they had all been killed without a doubt. However, facing Yi Chen, who had gotten a sword-shaped plant, the 3 did not even try to take it. It seemed like they were quite afraid of him. Sighing, the female sword artist forced a smile. She was only 1 step away from the 60% sword intent. If she had a plant, she might be able to make it. Unfortunately, she had not even touched a plant in the past couple of months. She could only watch it fall into someone else's hands. Shoo! 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 Right at that moment, the wind inside the crack became even more intense, bringing up a tornado. At least 8 or 9 plants shot out as fast as lightning, flashing once and disappearing. Good timing. The elder did not care about anything else. He reached out his hand and grabbed 2 of them. The other 2 middle-aged men were a bit weaker, but they both got 1 each. The fastest one would have to be Yi Chen. Before the sword-shaped plants appeared, his body had already jumped into the air. His body flashed and 3 plants landed in his hand. No matter it was the timing, the movement, or the horrifying coordination, it was all frightening. The 4 of them had gotten 7 plants in total. The remaining 2 went through the air above them, reaching the 3-mile area. All the sword artists in the 3-mile area jumped into the air at the same time. However, the plants were way too fast. They went right through them and reached the 4-mile area. Ha, I got 1. One of the sword artists in the 4-mile area was lucky. One of the plants had been shot in the same direction as him. There is still 1 more. The female sword artist was in the 5 miles area. She was already prepared to be empty-handed, but just like Yi Chen had said, her luck would eventually change. The last plant landed right in front of her, sinking 3 inches deep into the ground. The tail of the plant could not stop shaking. I got 1 just like this. She still could not believe it. In case something bad happened, she hurried to pull out the plant and threw it into her storage ring. A satisfied expression appeared on her face. With this plant, it is not impossible to increase my sword intent to 60%. All the sword artists in the 3-mile area and the 4-mile area who did not get any plants were almost going crazy. 9 plants. They did not even get 1. If Yi Chen and the other 3 could get it, it would be fine, since they were very powerful and had a high level of sword intent. No one would dare to fight against them. As for the remaining 2 plants, why would they not be theirs? 6 swordsmen surrounded the man who had the sword-shaped plant in the 4-mile area. Between his life and the plants, the man chose to give up. He looked disappointed. Soon, the 6 of them arrived near the female sword artist and surrounded her. If you know what's good for you, hand over the plants. Otherwise, you will lose your life. The female sword artist backed out a couple of steps. It is mine. I will give you 3 breaths of time. If you do not hand it over, you will die. The leading sword artist threatened. I will not hand it over. I stay here for a couple of months every year. This is my first time getting one. The female sword artist said angrily. Ha! You want to do this the hard way? Kill her. The 6 of them pulled out their weapons, their Jinyuan exploding violently. In the 2-mile area, Yi Chen shook his head. Under the surprised look of the elder and the 2 middle-aged men, he walked towards the 5-mile area step by step. Get the fuck back to your positions. Without wasting any time, Yi Chen yelled. Brat, this is our business. You better stay out of it. Don't think that just because you have a high level of sword intent, we will not be able to do anything to you. Battling power is not something that can be supported by sword intent alone. Yi Chen's power was still quite powerful. Otherwise, they would have attacked him already. The female sword artist was both grateful and worried, afraid that Yi Chen would be taken advantage of. Having a high level of sword intent was one thing, but having a high battling power was another. The two were not equal. Chin. The star-scar sword was pulled out halfway. That horrifying sword light cut out a crack on the ground. The crack spread out at an unimaginable speed until it reached under the 6 people's feet. I will say it again. All of you, get the fuck off. Yi Chen looked cold. These 6 people were all at early astral reaching realm, and one of them was at mid-astral reaching realm. They all had 60 or 70% sword intent, but their martial arts and sword arts were way weaker. So, Yi Chen did not care about them at all. Brat, you are looking for death. The leading mid-astral reaching realm warrior could not hold it anymore. He yelled as his Jinyuan started to burn crazily, throwing out a sword attack towards Yi Chen. Chapter 326. His blue robes fluttered in the air as Yi Chen took out his star-scar sword. The second he did so, his green lotus Jinyuan had already started to burn fiercely. A pure blue fire wave exploded, bringing up a light pattern in the surreal space. This kind of power was normally only available to mid-astral reaching realm warriors. Shoo! Taking out his sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack towards his opponent. Within that blue sword light was a majestic green lotus, which seemed to support the sky while its roots pierced into the ground. The sword light sliced down heavily with an unstoppable momentum. It was indeed the most aggressive ace attack of the Green Lotus sword arts, Green Lotus Mountain opening. The ground cracked open, and the person who had thrown out the sword attack was shocked. He was obviously the one who had thrown out the first attack, so how did his opponent get there first? Plus, that sword light contained an unimaginable power. Facing it, he felt like he was about to be torn apart, which made his scalp go numb. Seal it. As the sword was about to land, the person changed his sword movement, trying to block out Yi Chen's sword light. Boom! A thick layer of the ground was shaved off. That sword artist's feet rubbed against the ground as he was blown away, puking out a huge mouthful of blood. The star-scar sword created a sword flower in the surreal space, cutting through the air. The poetic perspective was horrifying. Yi Chen's gaze landed on the other 5. This is the holy land for sword artists. I do not want to kill you all. Back off. Yes, yes. The 5 saw that even the most powerful among them could not handle one sword attack from Yi Chen, so they did not dare to stay any longer. In a battle between sword artists, life and death was only a matter of a few attacks. As for that sword artist who had been beaten back by Yi Chen, he also did not dare to challenge him again, so he quickly left the place. He had been wounded quite badly, and would need some time to heal up. Otherwise, it would be hard for him to fight against the sword intent leaking out of the crack. Thank you. The female sword artist closed her slightly opened mouth and thanked him. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Yi-Chen waved his hand and said, "This is my first time here, so I would like to thank you for telling me some common sense. These are just small things. No need to thank me. Alright, you be careful. I still need to collect more sword-shaped plants." Although 4 sword-shaped plants could help him reach 90% sword intent, but Yi-Chen planned to accumulate enough sword-shaped plants all at once. Plus, the sword intent that leaked out from the crack was not completely useless. The messy information of the sword intent would eventually be sorted out, and he might have to rely on it to break through to the peak-level sword intent in the future. Returning to the 2-kilometer area, Yi-Chen pushed the matter from his mind. The middle-aged man, who was also in the 2-mile area, felt lucky that he did not try to steal his sword-shaped plant earlier. Not only had his sword intent reached 80%, his battling power was also terrifyingly high. Being able to fight beyond his cultivation, he was probably not weaker than the elder, and might even be slightly stronger than him. The elder chuckled and gave up on the idea of stealing the plant. He would have plenty of chances to get more sword-shaped plants in the future, so there was no need to risk his life for it. It was not worth it. Yi-Chen did not know what the others were thinking, and even if he did, he would not care. It was not because he was arrogant, but even without his martial arts and sword arts, his sword intent was still not something they could compete with, because they did not have the Battle King's sword, and their comprehensive abilities were not as good as his either. Although they were both 80% sword intent, Yi-Chen's sword intent contained the immortal mentality, which was an insurmountable advantage. It was also the foundation for him to survive. With the Battle King's sword, I would be able to use at least 10 times more efficiently than these people. What a shame. It was not that Yi-Chen did not have the thought of stealing the plant, but after thinking about it, he decided to give up. He was not a demonic man, who would rather sacrifice others to strengthen himself. Therefore, there would be no difference between him and the other 6 people. If he wanted to be powerful, he would have to be powerful in an upright way, and not let his sword intent be covered by dust. His sword intent was a vast sword intent, an indestructible sword intent. Unknowingly, Yi-Chen's sword intent had gotten firmer, and no evil could get through it. The wind gradually weakened until it disappeared, and the ground returned to its original peace and quiet. 5 plants should be enough. I will leave first. The elder could not wait any longer, and wanted to try to break through to the 90% sword intent. After all, he had already gotten 2 plants before, so it was not like he did not have the chance to break through to the 90% sword intent. Plus, with Yi-Chen here, he did not know when he would be able to get more plants. After the elder left, the 2 middle-aged men and the sword artists behind him were the ones who were excited. Yi-Chen did not care about anything, and just quietly trained his sword intent. After 10 days, the 2 middle-aged men left as well. Only Yi-Chen was left in the 2-mile area, and there were not many sword artists in the 1-mile area. Opening his eyes, Yi-Chen thought to himself, during these 10 days, there were 2 sword-shaped plants that flowed out of the stream, and I got both of them. In total, I have 6 sword-shaped plants, which should be enough for me to break through to the 90% sword intent. If I cannot, then it means that it is not the right time for me to break through yet, and the foundation of my sword intent would not be stable. However, it was already enough for him to break through to the 90% sword intent. If he wanted to break through to the next level, it would be even harder. He would have to wait until he got all 9 of them. Yi-Chen was very ambitious. This time, he not only wanted to break through to the 90% sword intent, but he also wanted to break through to the advanced level. Of course, the possibility was very low. 80% to 90% was already hard enough, and from 90% to the advanced level, it would be even harder than from the beginner level to the 90% sword intent. If he really wanted to break through, even if Yi-Chen had the Battle King's sword, he would need at least 20 to 30 sword-shaped plants. If it were someone else, it would be almost impossible for them to break through to the advanced level with just the sword-shaped plants, unless they were extremely talented in the sword arts, which meant that they were 2 or 3 times more talented than Yi Chen. Yi Chen had never heard of this kind of genius before. Breaking through to the advanced level sword intent was Yi Chen's biggest goal. After that, he wanted to at least stabilize the 90% sword intent. After all, 99% was the advanced level, and the gap between the two was not small at all. If he wanted to do it all at once, then he would have more hope. If he did it intermittently, then he would lose a lot of inspiration. After another 10 days, Yi Chen got another sword-shaped plant. The female sword artist was getting ready to leave. She was planning to say goodbye to Yi Chen, but seeing that he was still focused on his sword intent, she had to leave helplessly. The next day, there was a rare wind in the crack. However, compared to last time, the wind was much weaker, and there were only 3 sword-shaped plants. With 3 sword-shaped plants in his hand, Yi Chen had 10 sword-shaped plants in his storage now. It is time to leave. I have to give the others some chances. The sword artists who came here mainly wanted to learn the Battle King's sword intent that had leaked out from the crack. The sword-shaped plants were an extra reward, but they could not get anything from it at all. Obviously, they were very frustrated. With 10 sword-shaped plants, Yi Chen did not plan to occupy the 2 miles area anymore. He finally left. Luckily, I was able to hold on. Although the sword-shaped plants were an extra reward, if I could get one, then this trip would be worth it. Seeing Yi Chen leave, everyone was overjoyed. Of course, some of the weaker sword artists were worried. Before, with Yi Chen there, those aggressive sword artists did not dare to push it too far. But, once Yi Chen left, those people would not be able to control their greed and try to take the plants. In the end, this world had always been a survival of the fittest. The more powerful you were, the more people would respect you. 3 days after Yi Chen left, a group of unexpected guests showed up outside the crack. Have you seen this guy before? The leader took out a portrait from his storage ring. The portrait was none other than Yi Chen. Yes, he just left 3 days ago. The sword artist who was asked answered honestly. There were a lot of people on the other side, and the ones walking in the front were all astral reaching realm warriors. More importantly, they were wearing the uniform of the rank 6 martial school, the floating mountain martial school, which was not someone they could mess with. They could not help but wonder where Yi Chen came from, since he dared to go against the floating mountain martial school. The leader heard him and said with a cold voice, "Ha! He escaped again." They were all under Daoist Jin Huang, who was the core master of the floating mountain martial school. With one order, he could send out a lot of people. They were only one of the groups that were chasing after Yi Chen. This time, there were more than 10 groups, and each group had 2 to 3 astral reaching realm warriors. The biggest group even had a late astral reaching realm warrior, who was the assistant of Daoist Jin Huang. Daoist Jin Huang's order was to send someone to inform him as soon as they got the news. "Master Lu, don't worry. After messing with Master Jin Huang, this brat will die sooner or later." The middle-aged man who was called Master Lu put away the portrait, of course. What kind of cultivation does Master Jin Huang have? Even if we give him 5 years, he would not be able to compete with Master Jin Huang. If he does not die now, he will die even more miserably in the future. Let's go. In the mountains thousands of miles away from the natural moat gorge. Under the waterfall, Yi Chen sat on a huge rock, staring at the 6 sword marks on the wall. Among the 6 sword marks, 2 of them contained an unparalleled sword intent. The sword intent lingered for a long time, filling up the entire surreal space, making the air around it as sticky as water. Yi Chen had been sitting there for 10 days. During these 10 days, he had used up 6 sword-shaped plants in total. The sword intent of one plant could stay in the surreal space for 3 days. However, Yi Chen was not satisfied yet. Before the sword intent had completely disappeared, another sword mark would appear, which kept the sword intent at its most intense level. Woo! At noon, the waterfall stopped for a second. The water splashed in the midair and did not fall down for a long time. The breeze around had disappeared as well, and it was dead silent. Boom! Invisibly, a wave of sword intent shot up into the sky, shooting up into the clouds. 90% sword intent, done. Shaking off the dust on his body, Yi Chen stood up and opened his eyes. The surreal space was shaking, like a great sword that had been covered in dust for hundreds of years had just been pulled out of its scabbard, shocking the world. The sword intent slowly disappeared as Yi Chen let out a breath full of sharp qi. He mumbled to himself, comprehending the sword intent by myself was just a pure sword intent. However, from the Battle King's sword intent, I could sense the immortal mentality. Compared to the 80% sword intent, the immortal mentality contained in the 90% sword intent had increased by 5 times. The others would never have thought that I could gain something like this. There was only one Battle King's sword, and only that sword could trigger the immortal mentality in the Battle King's sword intent. It was Yi Chen's fortune, and no one else knew about it. Yi Chen was confident that with the 90% sword intent, he would be able to compete with other people's completed sword intent. The immortal mentality was way too powerful, and did not belong to this realm at all. It was like a life and death realm warrior, standing high above the rest and looking down on the world. With the increase of the sword intent, my cultivation is unbelievably stable. It should be because of my clear mind, without any dirt on me. Unfortunately, I do not have any pellets or spirit plants that could increase the cultivation of astral-reaching realm warriors. Otherwise, I would be able to reach the peak level of early astral-reaching realm right now. The sword intent on the sword mark had not disappeared yet, so Yi Chen took out another sword-shaped plant. It had been broken, and the sword intent contained in it was poured into the broken Battle King's sword. Yi Chen lifted up the sword and slashed out a new sword mark. Let's go all out and see what level I can reach with 90% sword intent. 99% was the completed sword intent. Even reaching 91% would be a huge improvement. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.